Tailosive EV podcast.
I'm your
ladies
host,
and
Nick.
gentlemen.
Today we'll be talking about why Randy's not here. That's right.
Because he had a Tesla.
Finally.
And this is an exclusive no Tesla owners podcast group.
We're unworthy, actually, is what we've decided.
Yeah.
Randy is just in a class of his own. Now he has a monetized Tesla Experience channel that he's, making bank on now with his Cybertruck video or something. He's decided to leave us and pursue a bigger career as a famous person. So it's just us left as Tesla plebes.
No time for us.
Yeah,
no
zero time. We called him.
And that's not a joke.
Tesla time news.
He literally did not have time for us today. So that's why he's not here. But that's okay. Because we got to push him off this show anyway. He's too much dominating the conversation. Him and his Tesla.
Him and his stupid
What about
Tesla.
us without our Teslas?
Right, we have
matter
opinions too. Gosh.
What about us gas car drivers that want to talk about electric vehicles, right?
I don't view it as a gas car. I view it as I'm too broke to afford something nicer car.
I say gas car because if I say an ice car, it sounds like I'm saying a nice car. And I mean the exact opposite of that. I do not
nice.
mean it is a nice car. Though I did fix the air conditioning in my dumb car last week. And
you did?
Like
you actually have an air conditioner now?
It feels like a brand new vehicle.
Wow.
It's amazing.
How was that? what was the problem? Why would you do that? What? Just roll down the window, Drew. It's simple.
That's what we were doing. The only problem is it's hotter outside. When it's 100 degrees every day, rolling down the windows won't help very much. But when we test drove the Model Y earlier this month, that was the first thing I noticed when I got in the car. I was like, air conditioning. This is so cool.
Most people are like, wow, the ceiling. Wow, the minimal interior. And Drew's just like, air conditioning.
Oh, it's cold in here. Man, I'm used to sweating. I got to put in sunscreen in the car and everything. But no, actually, last week's episode was dated very quickly.
I know, Elon. Why are you doing this to us?
So I'm expecting him to tweet some more stuff right after we record this week's episode.
We know he listens to us recording.
I instantly wanted to talk to you guys about it. Now it's just Nick, which is fine. He's the only one I care about anyway.
Thanks.
So,
right back at you, Randy.
By Jason on Twitter, are you still planning on building the standard range Model Y? Because the mention of it had been removed from the website, given the price cuts. Model Y got cheaper, $3,000 cheaper, which is pretty insane. It's a grand less than they originally said it was going to be when they unveiled it. And it includes a bunch of stuff that Teslas didn't include back then, like the white pearl paint, autopilot,
USB-C,
the Gemini wheels, USB-C. Yeah, all that stuff is now included, and it's a grand cheaper than originally advertised, which is cool. But in response to Jason asking that tweet, Elon responded, no, because the range would be under 250 EPA, which isn't enough anymore. But they have confirmed they will be building the long-range rear-wheel drive Model Y that will have a better range than the dual motors. And it'll be cheaper. In fact, replied to someone with the the looking eyes emoji, like, I'm not saying this, but I'm kind of saying this. When someone said, is it going to be around $45,000? So maybe Elon shouldn't have tweeted that because it's getting people into the mindset of that's what it's going to cost. But in my opinion, if it wasn't going to be $45K, he wouldn't have said anything.
True.
And yet he did. So, Nick, how do you feel about no standard range, them axing that entry model, but making a $45,000 Model Y that goes probably 330 miles on a charge?
It really just makes me nervous with the Cybertruck because the Model Y is dead to me.
Same.
The Model Y, I just spec'd it out while you were talking and I was half listening because I haven't spec'd out a Model Y on the website for months. Do you think I listen to these shows while I'm making them? Please.
I'm not even listening to Nick right now.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
We're just talking over each other at this moment as we respond to each other. I just spec'd out the Model Y that I used to want. Like, that was my dream car, like a Model Y pearl white with the slightly nicer wheels with white interior autopilot. And I added a tow hitch now because I definitely want that. It's $60,000. And that is how much I was originally planning to pay for the base performance that I had reserved. Like I think the base performance was 59 or maybe it's 69. I can't remember. Anyway, $60,000 is a lot more than the Cybertruck and me penciling in $47,000. And
It
so
may not be.
what do you mean?
If the prices of the Model Y rollout are similar to the prices of the
I know.
Cybertruck.
That's what I mean. It's getting me worried. Like if I was looking for the Model Y and I was like, oh, I can't wait for the $39,000, cheap Model Y. Yay, can't wait for that. And I'm kind of holding out for that right now with the Cybertruck. I can't wait for the $40,000 Cybertruck. Yay. But it just got canceled and I don't know if I want to buy a dual motor.
I hope they don't cancel it. I mean, it doesn't line up with his logic, which I found interesting, because Elon's reasoning was 250 is like the minimum now. He's saying they can't release, and I don't like that, to be honest with you. I disagree with that. I don't think it's right that all new Teslas should have 250 miles or better. I mean, I'm fine with having more range, but if it's at the cost of making the vehicle more expensive than originally promised, I don't think it's worth it. Like,
here's what Elon wants to do. Elon wants to get up on stage and say, every single one of our vehicles, every single one, goes at least 50 miles more than the Porsche Taycan.
Is that it? I'm waiting for that day.
Yeah.
But I just mean there's a lot of people that don't need to go that far on a charge because it's range from the outlet, not from the gas pump. And I am the kind of person who does not give a crap about range because I barely drive anywhere. And I think you're kind of in the same boat. You're not really all about longest range possible because there's barely any road trips in your life. And if the car can be made cheaper by shrinking the battery size, I think they should do it. I'm in favor of that. I was kind of pumped and excited for the 39K Model Y, but now knowing it's not happening in favor of more expensive but great range is like, I feel like that demographic has already been served. And I also think that they have to change the prices further if they are planning at launching that at 45K, because $5,000 between dual motor and single motor, and you get better range and save $5,000, and the only loss is like, okay, performance and traction control. People in the snow, icy roads, sure, you get dual motor, but the vast majority of people that live in warmer climates, I think they're all going to go for the $5,000 cheaper one, and that will severely impact the sales of the dual motors. So I don't know. Do you think that logic is sound, or?
Oh, I thought we weren't listening to each other. The idea that they would cannibalize their own sales makes sense, right? Like the what are we at right now with the base Model 3? That 38 is cannibalizing quite a few of the dual motor sales, right? Like, and Tesla right now is not selling a cheaper version, and so they're playing the waiting game, right? Like Tesla knows at some point the people who want a Tesla are going to buy a Tesla, right? Like they might be 12 right now and can't afford it, or they might be 21 and can't afford it. But at some point, they're going to buy a Tesla. And so they're playing the waiting game. If they can get people who are impatient to fork over a bunch of money or get in a bunch of debt or start doing huge monthly payments, then that only helps Tesla's bottom line. And then further along down the road, they can drop the price, incrementally, so that people. It makes me worried with the Cybertruck though, like $40,000 Cybertruck. I am.
But the single motor still goes 250, so there's no reason for them to cancel that if Elon's reasoning is I don't think that's
the reason.
You think that's an excuse?
The reason is they couldn't make it financially viable because it was using some battery pack that only went less than 250, and so because
I'm okay with that though.
I know you're okay with that. I would be okay with the 100-mile Tesla at this point.
If it was like half the price and only went 100 miles, I'd be like, I rarely go over 100 miles anyway.
Right.
I'd rather save the money.
Because the reason why I'm getting a Tesla is not for the range specifically, or even for the fact that it's a car. I'm getting it for the cool tech that it is and the fact that it drives itself. Yeah. And I'm kind of rethinking what kind of Tesla I need, because the Cybertruck, yes, cool, I love it, love great design, but like it is so inefficient. I was looking at that route planner website where you can pick what car you have and where you're going to and the wind and all that fun stuff. And the Cybertruck is really inefficient. Even if you get the tri-motor one,
we don't know exactly. It's hard to know how efficient. We can speculate.
It's a big brick. And so the Model 3
for sure
is still faster on road trips. The long-range Model 3 is still faster on road trips than a performance Cybertruck or dual-motor Cybertruck for that matter, because it's such a huge battery pack that you're having to wait to charge, whereas the performance Model 3s are only, 75 kilowatt hours? So they don't take that long to charge up, and they're pretty efficient as far as their design. And because they're a small car,
light,
right? Like
relatively light. But yeah, the bigger the vehicle, the more energy it consumes.
Yeah. So I don't know. What I use my car for right now, like, honestly, I don't use my car at all. And I think there are a lot of people right now, which is why Ford and Toyota are all nosediving right now. They're realizing they don't need a new car, right? Because they are not using a new car. They're not using their car to commute or to drive around. And I get it. It's a huge privilege to not have to have a commute. Like, I love not having a commute. Not having to sit in dumb traffic twice a day. That's great. But at the same time, when I was close to getting a Model 3 and then Model Y about a year ago is when I did have a long commute. I guess it was more than a year ago, already in July. But I was really considering it because I was spending like 90 minutes of my day sitting in traffic, 45 minutes to and 45 minutes from. And sure, I could put on a podcast or something, or maybe even pull up a YouTube video and listen to it in background mode. But it was the idea of just being able to boom, boom, and just have it do most of the monotonous work for me. And what I'm currently using my car for is like trips to grocery store every once in a while, trips around town, less than 20 miles there and back, trips to maybe a friend's house or something. But I am going to be doing a big road trip here in a week, which is why I won't be here next week. And that's a 5,000 mile road trip that I'll be taking, and it's going to comprise of a couple 15-hour jaunts, and like I'm kind of wishing I had like a little Model 3, like even just a little Model 3, nothing too fancy, just like
something simple.
Exactly.
So you and I are in agreement then that you're in favor of there being shorter range EVs that can save us on the upfront cost.
If there was a Model 2 right now that was $19,000 that went 50 miles, that had maybe not 50 miles, 100 miles is probably the furthest down I'd go. Maybe not 50 miles,
probably.
But 100 miles is pretty reasonable.
Covers the daily stuff pretty much.
Exactly, without being too inconvenient. And like even if it's a little hatchback or something, or like a little two-door itsy bitsy car, and if it did FSD or even autopilot, like that would automatically become my road trip car, right? Like I'd be taking that, even if I had to stop every 100 miles for a supercharger. Ooh, I should probably take that back. What's the minimum distance between what's the longest distance between two superchargers in the U.S.? That is how small range
depends on the route, I guess.
Exactly. I don't want to have to take some
probably
big inefficient route.
If you're going across Montana, it's probably a lot bigger than if you're going through Kansas or something. But I think that's what has me concerned about this tweet. Is it an excuse they're making just so that they can delay standard range to be way off into the future? Because I'm still convinced it's going to come out someday. It's just not now. Because Elon has a track record of tweeting things to help people realize that something significantly cheaper isn't coming soon. Yeah. In other words, it's
buy
trying
it
to
now
incentivize consumers. Yeah, buy it now because there's not going to be a 39K one coming out later this year. There's not going to be a cheap one later. I could see it being one of those things we wake up to way in the future. We check the website. We're like, wait, what? You made what? What did you do? And they I'm not even saying it'll be next year because they removed the mention of the website that it would be produced in 2021. So I'm saying kind of similar to the Model 3. They didn't launch standard range until 2019. A lot of people still forget that.
I forgot about that.
It took a long time before.
In the year, right?
Yeah, the first deliveries were end of 2017, and it wasn't until like February of last year that they launched standard range and standard range plus. So I could see them maybe doing something like that with the Y in the future when the Y is kind of matured, people aren't thinking about it too much. Then suddenly they're like, okay, now there's a standard range. But maybe only when, here's my theory here, maybe only when they found a way to make the batteries energy dense enough that they can get 250 miles on the SR Plus version. Because the Model Y has a lot of range similarities with the 3. It's honestly very close. 316 for dual motor, 322 on the Model 3 versus 316 for the Y. It's like 7-mile difference despite the car being larger and heavier and taller and all that. So they really, if we look back at Tesla's history, they've improved on energy density every year by around 3%, and gotten ways to make batteries cheaper. And, Battery Day coming up, I'm sure they're working on the next gen stuff. I could see like early 2022, Tesla just suddenly being like, okay, now there's a standard range plus Model Y, maybe a standard range off menu. And that one goes 250, but it won't be anytime soon. But it makes me think about, like you said, the Model 2, like these little compact cars we've wanted for so long. Or Elon confirmed on Twitter to someone who was saying, like, Model Y is still too big for a lot of countries in Europe. And he said, well, we'd probably design a smaller compact hatchback at Giga Berlin. And I'm like, so can that not go under 250 now? That's like a requirement? Or...
I think that was the public excuse for it. The internal excuse was, hey, we can't make this work on a price basis. We can't sell a Model Y right now with the production inefficiencies that we currently have. We can't sell, what was the base price? 39,000 for the...
When they announced that it was 39, but a lot of things were not standard back then. Like when they announced the Model Y, autopilot was not included by default. It was also the 18-inch Aero wheels by default. Now it's Gemini wheels. It was also the black paint back then. So a lot has changed to become default features in Teslas now, which is why in prior videos I've talked about 41 making a ton of sense, because it's a couple grand more. And it's a decent, healthy distance between standard range Model 3 and standard range Y being $3,000 apart. Just like now, dual motor Y and dual motor 3 are $3,000 apart. So it makes sense to me that it'd be 41. But now Elon just flat out says not happening. So
I think it the 250 mile range limit. I don't think that's, like, with a Model 2 or something, they're going to have to be less than 250 miles to hit the price points that they want to hit. Like, it's going to be like maybe 25 kilowatt battery or something. So, because that's the biggest
maybe
expense.
They just get really energy efficient. And
maybe they just put
super
two
cheap
double A's
car
in the bottom.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, if they make a Model 2 type thing that's super small and super
It's about
compact,
2 feet off the ground. You lay down in it. It's just like a coffin with wheels.
It's the toy Model S they sell for kids.
Exactly. That's
the Model 2. That's it. They're just going to give that thing supercharging. Yeah. They'll give that thing supercharging capabilities. That's all it is. But who knows? Maybe they'll be like, because it uses so little power, it can actually go 250 miles. But maybe that's stupid. I don't know. You think they'll definitely have to go under 250 to reach those price margins?
I think the reason right now, I don't know about the Model 2 or whatever, but I think with the Model Y, the reason why they've nixed it is because they're like, well, we're only going to have a 1% profit margin on this vehicle if we were to announce it at $40,000. And if we announced it at $45,000, it's too close to the dual motor and people won't see the value in... they wouldn't buy it, right? Because if it was $45,000, people would be like, well, for $5,000 more, I could get, 300 and whatever miles of range, and I can get, a little bit second motor and, all these other things for $5,000. What a deal. But at the same time, that would push people in two directions. Some people would go with the dual motor because they see that $5,000 is not a big deal, and they see the dual motor is more valuable sitting next to the $45,000 Model Y standard range. But there's also another demographic that's going to be pushed to the $45,000 Model Y, just like you and me, who are like, how cheap can I get a Tesla with autopilot?
Yeah, get me the cheapest one possible, please.
Exactly. And those people are going to go buy this cheap Model Y that doesn't have good profit margins, which was the exact same fallacy that they fell into with the Model 3 back in 2019. They originally started with the standard range. It was too
popular.
It was too popular. A lot of people got it. And Tesla got rid of it a couple weeks or a couple months later. Like, it was pretty quick. Like, Yeah,
It was, I think within the week they changed the whole website. I remember that.
Yeah,
it was
it was
like,
pretty
oh,
crazy.
cool, Model 3 now starts at 35K. It was like 5 days later, SR Plus
Is
starts at
40.
38. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's still a 35 one-off menu, but yeah. So you just think they don't want to have too much demand at once, basically,
Well, I think
with slim margins?
yeah, they want to wait till their margins are going to get better, and that's going to happen as they talk with Sandy Monroe to figure out how to make the Model Y more efficiently and improve their
They already
process.
are. I mean,
Well, I'm sure
reports are the Fremont factory is shutting down at the end of this month so that they can move in more equipment that was already on the record to be purchased, which was a new casting system for the rear unibody of the Model Y. Right now it's 2 pieces, and they're going to get it down to 1. So it's already like, and he also told people on Twitter because, I forget who it was. It wasn't Volkswagen. Volvo or someone? VW? One of the
Oh,
Vs.
yeah, bought a
There's
Model Y to figure out how to make it.
Yeah, they imported it into Europe, and Elon replied to the tweet like, the Giga Berlin one is the one to look for because that's going to have some redesigns to the internal structure. So I think they're already working on ways to make it cheaper. But I wanted to bounce this idea off you because we don't have a ton of data on it. We have a little bit, but do you think it's possible that in the U.S. at least, they're just seeing more demand for more longer range vehicles than they are cheap, low-end, less range vehicles? Like, as competitors catch up, is it smarter for Tesla to invest in a... Because if you think about it, if you care about range, the 45K rear-wheel drive long range, that's a great deal.
Yeah.
45 grand, and you go well over 300, and you get the hatchback and the storage space and all. I think that's going to sell like crazy. Tons of people are going to want that one. And do you think they might be seeing more demand for that anyway? So they figure, let's just lean into the demanded markets and not so much the cheap standard range markets?
I think Tesla they're in a position where they don't need to worry about demand specifically. They do need to decide which markets they want to pursue first. But right now there's so much demand for Teslas. That's why, they can't make them quick enough. And there's ebbs and flows. There are seasons where they have down to 2 weeks, and sometimes they're up to 8 weeks or whatever.
12.
12? Gosh, 12 weeks. Jeez.
It's
happening. What it is right now? That's 4 to 8 weeks.
No, it was a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
At the end of June, it was like 8 to 12 weeks. So yeah, you're right. They can't build them fast enough.
Yeah, but anyway, so they're not worried about Toyota, Ford. They're all like, how do we appeal to that soccer mom who really wants the SUV with the third row seat? How do we really appeal to them? Tesla can literally make anything and people will go buy it, right? Like, we both have battery chargers that just say Tesla on it for our phones that got bought, and then
you got it for me though.
Exactly.
Don't pin that on me.
I'm not pinning it on you. I'm just saying we both have them because
the fanboy army is strong,
right? Yeah, but the thing is, there's so much demand for Teslas, even outside of the fanboy army, even outside of the Elon Club. Like, there are lots of people who have noticed Tesla's like no longer the kid on the block who has said a bunch of funny stuff but never actually did it. They're realizing that Tesla's actually doing what they said they were going to do.
Right. Sure.
And that's only adding to the demand. And so Tesla doesn't really need to pursue that soccer mom or pursue the classic pickup truck owner, because they can make just about anything and lots of people are going to find it really attractive, and they're still not going to be able to sell enough of them, or make enough of them to sell. So in that light, I have to say dual motor makes a lot of sense to keep it a Model Y at dual motor for now and wait for cheaper options, because at the moment, people who want a dual motor, as I said, if you're not patient, you get the dual motor and pay more. But as they decide where to go from here, that's always going to be in the back of their mind, like, kind of no matter what we make, people are going to want it and clamor to get it. And so they know if they keep waiting, people are going to keep buying the more expensive ones because they still can't make enough of them. So I would say once we see deliveries, go down to like 1 week, like we did with the Model 3 back in last summer, That's kind of when they were, or was it March or whenever they added the standard range plus stuff is when
Yeah.
they waited until they had about parity of supply and demand for the more expensive ones, and then they announced the lower priced one, which then, added more demand. So I don't know.
So basically, they're choosing their battles of here's what we can make and here's what will have a healthy profit margin, and they're not too concerned about demand of certain vehicles because they're probably well aware that the demand for a 40K Model Y would be insanely high. A ton of people would get that, but the margins wouldn't be too healthy, so they don't pursue it. And the 250-mile thing is just a public excuse. It's not a legitimate. We have certain standards we have to achieve with range.
Just like
it has to be better.
Just like any other company has to spin their decisions in a certain way. They always have to put a positive spin on it, right? They're not going to say, "Oh, we're getting rid of the charging brick in the iPhone box because we're trying to save a buck here." That's not what they're going to say. They're going to say,
No.
"We're saving the environment," or "We're limiting e-waste," or "We realized our users don't actually use the box or the charger that came in the box." Tesla has to do the same, and I think range is their biggest selling point. Like if you look at any other EV out there, it's like, "Oh, well, we had 201 EPA miles," and Tesla's like, "Hold my battery," and they
price and range. It's the two biggest factors.
Exactly.
EV.
And so Tesla has that, and so I think they're kind of marketing themselves as, "Oh yeah, we're not going to stoop to that level of 200 sub 250. That's just we're so far advanced. We're not going to go backwards. What are we, Neanderthals or something?"
Yeah. But they don't want to launch a lower range car.
But as soon as it makes financial sense to have a lower range car, they'll do it instantly.
And do you think it'll be under 250, or do you think they're going to wait till it can hit that?
The standard range Model Y?
Maybe a plus. Maybe
I think the plus will hit 250, and the standard range off menu will be 230 software locked.
So it matches the unveiled promise. They said, "Hey, we said it'd be 230, but you can pay an extra $2,000 or $3,000 and unlock the extra 20 miles or so, just like you can with the current standard range 3." But I just hope that it kind of frustrates me because leading up to this, I was really, really hoping Tesla could simplify the lineup a little bit more. We could get away from the SR pluses and the long range dual versus long range thing. Like I was hoping we could eventually just get to standard, long range, performance. Those are the three tiers, both for the 3 and the Y. Now it seems like it's kind of like, how the Model S and X are basically just long range and performance. And that's what we're getting here. We're getting two versions of long range. So long range doesn't mean the same thing anymore. Long range could mean 316 or 330, depending on which version you're getting. It makes me almost wonder if they want to phrase it in the future a bit more like the Cybertruck and just go single motor, dual motor.
I like that.
And then instead of tri-motor, just say performance, because the hardware differences between long range dual versus performance are actually pretty minor. The only difference is being like some of the brakes and the stuff that's included with it, like the fender and the rims and that kind of thing. So yeah, I wonder if that's how they plan on moving forward with it, just moving more towards the single motor dual and performance. But that almost makes me wonder if we'll never get the 250-mile range Cybertruck because Tesla will say, that had the least demand. Everyone wants dual or tri. Yeah. But they'll do like a long-range single-motor Cybertruck. So it'll have the same battery pack as the dual motor. But
still hit the 300 miles?
Yeah, probably better. Just like the Model 3. If you have a big battery pack in one motor, you can go further than the same battery with two motors. So
that makes sense.
I could see them maybe we'll call this pulling a Model Y with the Cybertruck and announce like, okay, the cheapest Cybertruck actually has one of the better ranges, not tri-motor range, but second best. That one will go like 330 and the dual motor will go like 320 or something. But it starts at 45 instead of 40. I could see them end up doing something like that. Do you think that's a bad idea? Or
as a diehard Cybertruck fan, anything that makes the base model cheaper, I'm all for. But unfortunately, as we have seen with the Model 3 and now the Model Y, when Tesla announces a base price, it takes them quite a few years to hit it, and even when they hit it, it's not as exciting as we all thought it was.
It's got a bunch of strings attached.
Exactly.
So the Roadster won't be 200K either, probably.
No, that'll be the stupid version that only goes 1.9 seconds.
It'll be the cheapest way to flex the Roadster.
That'll be the one in like basic black or something. It'll be like the basic color. And if you want any other color, it's like $50,000 more.
Oh, yeah. I could see the paint jobs for the Roadster being super...
Because they're 3D hologram, and they ship each vehicle from Fremont to Berlin to get the cool 3D thing, and then they ship them back to the U.S. for finishing. And they got
updated paint
they got
jobs.
The guy with his cloth polishing the body and
made of chinchilla fur.
And then you got Franz chucking a steel ball at each window just to make sure that it bounces off. Oh my!
So you think it's likely they won't hit the 40K?
That's the Tesla I want. Like I've wanted it for a long time. Obviously, I have reservations for all 3 Cybertrucks because I don't know what my financial position. And if I wanted to, I could go out and buy a Model 3 with some loan or lease or whatever. But like that's not a financially smart decision, and so I'm not going to be buying a Tesla until I'm financially ready to buy a Tesla. And because of that,
most.
Exactly. I don't know. If you guys were subscribed on this podcast and watched more YouTube ads on our podcast, then we would be closer to getting Teslas. But
stonks.
Exactly.
Major stonks moment.
Buy our Tailosive Bitcoin or cryptocurrency.
If you talk about Tesla long enough, you will be able to afford one. If you monetize that talking. That's what Nick is hoping for here.
That's the goal here. But yeah. So I don't know what my financial position will be because it changes. I could get another job that pays more money, or I might be working the same job, which I really enjoy. But, it depends. And, I don't know what the future is going to hold. But because of that, that's why I have all the reservations, because I don't know what, and I tried to lock in that 7,000. And I'm looking on the website now, and I'm really thankful I locked in the 7,000 autopilot because I'm looking at the website.
It's appreciating asset already.
Exactly. I'm already making
reservation.
It's already saved me $1,000, so I've made $900 from this. Wow.
No, you're definitely not going to cancel any.
Exactly. I'm not going to cancel them until the time comes.
They ask for delivery.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm going to be like, no, I'm good, thanks. Give me my money back. And even if they don't give me the money back, that's fine. It's only $100. But anyway, so yeah, I have reservations for all of them. The one that I want, and I didn't originally start out wanting it. I wanted the maxed out Cybertruck because it's only $80,000. Of course, by the time in 2021, I'll have $80,000 just sitting around in my bank vault.
That's kind of the genius of the timeline of announcing these things, is everyone feels like 2 years from now, I'll have tons of money by then.
Exactly.
But that's why I expect at least minimum 50% of the reservations not to go through.
I'd say only 10% of them are going to go through, and I think we've had that debate already. But
maybe 10. That'd be on the high end for me. I think I'd say worst case scenario 10%.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm probably also thinking the worst case scenario. But so I want the $40,000 one because I don't use a vehicle all that often. My car sits in the driveway 5 days out of the week and doesn't move. The 2 days out of the week that I drive less than 50 miles a day. And it's not for work. It's for pleasure. Some days I just get so cooped up not leaving my room for like months at a time. I just decide I want to go drive, and then I go drive and drive around for a couple hours, but then I come back, and that's literally all I use a car for. So I want the $40,000 one because it's cheap and it's I don't need anything else. I don't need anything else. But yeah, so going back to the will the $40,000 one come out, and when will it come out? I think it's gonna be just like the Model 3 and the Model Y. It's supposed to come out in 2022? So I'm going to say it's actually going to come out in 2023 or 2024.
It'll be way behind.
Yeah, because they'll have the dual motor, and that'll be probably like what's supposed to be at 50,000 will be at 45,000, and
so you're expecting the higher tier ones to get cheaper?
I think so. We've seen that happen before.
It has happened. Sometimes not in the first wave, which is what
No, I don't think in the first wave, but this is, I'm still waiting for the cheap one. Like, if I was waiting for the Model Y, the cheap Model Y, I'll be waiting at least 2 years from now. And
there's a bit of karma that goes around when people, you're locking in your $7,000 full self-driving price, and people are doing that. They're like, oh, well, I reserved a Cybertruck already, so I get the cheaper FSD. But like we saw with the Model Y, the early adopters ended up paying $3,000 more than the people who bought one today. Yeah. So I could see something similar happening with the truck, where it's like, yeah, full self-driving has gone up a lot, but if you would have waited, ends up being a lot cheaper.
And as Randy says, you got to be ready to buy the Tesla that you buy at the price that you're going to pay for it. You can't play the coulda, woulda, shoulda game. But yeah, so I'm fully waiting. I'm at this point, which again could change. I'm fully content waiting for however long it takes for the cheap Cybertruck to come out. And
you'll take your time.
I would do the off menu version, whatever I have to do to make it cheaper. Because again, as fun as the design it is, I'm really in it for the tech, and also the fact that it can charge from the wall, and I don't have to go to a crummy gas station anymore. Like,
oh yeah. Well, what's interesting though is I think both of us suffer from the whatever the latest from Tesla is thing.
Never,
because I remember when the Model Y was unveiled in March of 2019, you were so pumped. You reserved one day one. You were a reservation holder. Yeah. You got the exact model, and you said, this is going to be perfect for me. I can't wait to drive it. Until down the road, you were like, well, now Cybertruck's
and
more
honestly,
cool. So
I might be swayed by the Model 2 if it's a nice, cheap price point.
I was going to say if they do a smaller Cybertruck later, that's cheaper.
If I was going Cybertruck, I would not get the small one. I don't know. It'd have to be significantly.
You just said
cheaper.
you might get the Model 2.
Well,
but now
that's not
like,
a Cybertruck.
I need the big.
That's not the Cybertruck. Like,
is it?
I don't know. Maybe the Model 2 will be a Cybertruck Mini, but
it'll be a stainless steel right triangle.
Right triangle.
It'll just be a triangle that drives on the road.
Remember that the Google full self-driving car? It kind of looks like a triangle, but it's not. It looks like a little bubble.
Perfect aerodynamics. It's just one angle, very sharp on the back, flat off the back. In fact, the back of the car is just a door. The back of the car just opens up, and you just get in. You don't even sit. You have to stand while you're driving it, like this.
Well, and I really wouldn't
itself. So do you think you could suffer from the whatever the latest Tesla announcement is? So by the time Cybertrucks start coming out, there will be something else you're more excited for?
Yeah, here's the thing. These vehicles are very expensive. They're probably the biggest item besides a house that I'll ever buy.
They're the largest depreciating asset you'll ever buy.
Exactly. But that's we've made the argument that Teslas don't depreciate as much as regular cars. But yeah, they're still huge purchases.
Still, they're not appreciating. We'll put it that way. So there's, of all things people buy in their lives, cars are by far the ones that people spend the most amount on that depreciate. Houses typically are more expensive, but they more often than not go up in value.
And a lot of people borrow money to buy a vehicle that you have to pay to maintain that also depreciates. Mm-hmm.
That's what I can't stand.
Deal.
And I would highly recommend not doing. That's why we're only saying it while Randy's not on the podcast. Because that's what he did.
But Randy paid it off.
No disrespect. He's paid it off, but it took him
a year.
Oh, almost a year, yeah. But I mean, it's different if you're in need of a car and you're using it a lot, that you're willing to pay extra to get it sooner. I get that. It's just me and Nick are both in the boat of we're in literally no hurry. We could legitimately probably wait 5 years and be okay before it would start to become like an issue that we don't have one. Yep. But at the same time, it's important to remember these things doesn't matter what Elon says, they're not going to go up in value after the day you bought it. There's been many studies to prove otherwise.
They won't go down as quickly as a Ford, but
no, they decelerate less. Just like a parachute doesn't make you fly, but it can make you go down slower than someone falling out of the sky.
Good example, Drew. I like that. So Ford is just a free-falling guy.
Yeah. Ford's like jumping out of a plane, and a Tesla's like jumping out of a plane with a parachute. Mm-hmm. It's still going down, but not as much. Yeah. Particularly if Tesla releases something that makes the model you bought pointless.
Yeah.
That's why you see massive devaluation of the Model S. The value of that will drop a lot when the Model 3 came out. But
have we seen that on the Model X?
Not so much. There's a little bit of depreciation, obviously, but not as substantial as the S from what I've seen. Because I've just out of curiosity looked a lot at used Teslas to see what they're going for and what people are asking. And Model S's have sunk fast.
Mm-hmm.
You can
get one for like 30 grand, right?
Less. Even from Tesla, you can get one less than 30 grand. It'll be old and it'll have some degradation and it'll be dated. But yeah, there's Model S's that I've seen on Tesla's website for under 30 grand. But Model X, lowest I've seen them get is around 50.
29,500 for a 2015 Model S. That's fairly new.
Yeah.
5-year-old car.
Car world, in traditional car world, it's not that old, but in Tesla world, a lot has changed in 5 years.
It does have autopilot.
But that's it. You'll never get FSD on that hardware. So you just have autopilot and that's it. But
yeah, but you're also saving
some people,
20 grand.
Sure. Yeah, you're saving, but you'll get some degradation. You'll have to deal with some dated design and dated internals because the MCU on those older Model S's are not fun. Yeah. Very laggy, and you have to wait for Tesla to select you to upgrade to the MCU2 for $2,500. So, yeah, this is a whole part of the cars becoming more technologically involved thing. You know, as computers and cars get more intermixed, you will start to see some of the trademarks of computers aging very quickly in Teslas as well. So
agreed. Why do they ever have a brown Tesla? The brown Model S is the ugliest car I've ever seen. Don't ask me. Actually, please at me. I'm not on Twitter, but
in my
ugly color.
There's a local one in my town that always parks at the same place, and whenever we drive down that road, I always see it, and I'm like, I wonder why they went with that color. That's so bizarre that someone thought that one was good. Same with maybe it's just me. Maybe people disagree with me, but the original Model S Red was this like really dark shade.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't like the look of that. I don't know. Some people might have liked it, but I'm more of a fan of like if you're gonna have a red car, you go bright, extravagant, hot roadster looking red. But that one was like a really dark shade of red that I just didn't sit right with me. But I'm glad they changed it anyway. I wanted to ask you a little bit.
The silver Model 3.
Oh, I know. I'm still in favor of sell Teslas without paint on them. You know,
right? Please
check the box that says I'm going to wrap this, or I don't care about the exterior because it could get scratched up, and I don't care. It's just Tesla. Save me money. Or you could be in the boat of Tesla's going to mess up my paint job anyway, so why bother? I'm still really surprised how many quality control issues they have with the Y.
Yeah.
It's disappointing. It's not like deal breaker, but it's sad. Like
I don't really care. Like my car creaks and squeaks and has tons of little issues. And
but you didn't spend 50 grand on it.
Well, that's true, but at the same time, I'm not one to notice on those details. Like I look at visuals and kind of the.
Not everyone does. I'm just saying it shouldn't be an issue.
Small, tiny little paint blemishes I don't really care about. Like, little pieces of dust in the paint, not a huge deal. I probably wouldn't even notice it on the first day walk around. I'd be so excited. But I probably would notice panel gaps. Panel gaps, I do kind of notice those. But again, they're not a huge deal. And I don't really...
They're not a huge deal?
Even if I was spending $50,000 on a car, or $100,000, okay, $100,000 maybe, but like...
I wouldn't return the car over it. I wouldn't refuse delivery. But the one I saw on Reddit today that shocked me was someone got a Model Y that had a white interior driver door, even though the rest of the car was a black interior.
Okay, yeah.
So they literally put the wrong door on that car. Like they were like, "Oh, this one's fits. I guess this is fine." And I'm like, "Okay, at that point, there must be no quality control inspector by the end of the assembly line." Because you would have, that's very obvious to me. That's not even a design defect. That's like
wouldn't the guy like transporting the vehicle or the guy at the Tesla store who's like
someone in that.
It's like
this door is white and the rest of the car is black. Do we think that's an issue? Nah, just
it's fixing racism.
Yeah. Somehow. Yeah, but I mean, like, the person, all the comments on the subreddit of the person who got it was like, hey, that's really rare. I think you just consider it a limited edition. Yeah, it's like finding it's like finding a coin or a dollar that has a misprint on it. It's like, just hang on to that, don't fix it. Just keep it for the sake of, hey, this is how it was delivered. But honestly, when it comes to QC, the Model Y I checked out from the guy who reached out to me. Yeah, he showed me where there were some paint nicks, and I literally was I was squinting as hard as I could to see. I was like, okay, that literally could have happened like as a rock or something after that left the factory. Like, I have no clue how you spot those things. Some are more obvious than others, but there were a couple panel gaps that I could see. I was like, yeah, that's a little off. I would ask them about it, but I wouldn't. There's a few people that have just flat out refused delivery. I haven't seen exactly what issues people have had that got them that far, but still, it's a problem nonetheless. I think that they could do much better on that, and I hope they can act on it. But it's also, at the same time, I'm annoyed how people on Twitter and Reddit treat quality control issues as not like a problem that needs to be fixed. It's like, this is a fundamental, huge problem with the company, and we should boycott them. Don't buy their car anymore. It's like, you're not getting what Tesla's offering elsewhere. You're not going to get the software. You're not going to get the full self-driving. You're not going to get the range. You're not going to get the performance or this design, the supercharging access. None of that you can go boycott and find at another EV company. But it's okay to be like a major fan of the company like we are and still admit there are problems that need to be fixed. And it's not end of the world, this company is doomed, never buy the product. Because, when you ask people their favorite features of their Tesla, they're never talking about the excellent panel gap and the amazing detail of the paint quality and how there's no chips and there's no, like, even if they were built perfectly and quality control wasn't an issue we were talking about, you wouldn't bring it up. You wouldn't be talking about it. It's just standard thing. Oh, yeah, I mean, the car's built together. It's expected. So it's sloppy. It shouldn't be there, but at the same time, it doesn't change the fact that I want one. It's not,
right, yeah.
It's not like boycott the company because I can't find that stuff they offer elsewhere. So I think there's a healthy middle ground more people should be on that subject of, like, it's a problem, let's fix it, but let's not act like the company's going to die because of it. It's not the end of the world. But
I'm kind of worried with the Cybertruck, and it's almost part of the reason why I don't mind. I'm just worried all day long.
You really aren't listening to me.
I am.
You're just like,
we're talking
everything
about
I say. I know, but
I'm going to compare it to the Cybertruck. Watch this.
Every fourth point, you're like, I'm worried about the Cybertruck. I know you're worried, Nick.
Okay,
let's talk Cybertruck. Let's go into it.
Okay, but the panel gaps on the Cybertruck are going to be chonk and terrible for the
very noticeable
first long time, right? Like, there have been panel gap issues with Model Y and Model 3.
I see panel gaps on the prototype Cybertruck.
Exactly, I know, right? It even on their prototype that they handmade is not perfect. And do I really want to be in the first group of people getting Teslas brand new? Like, okay, yeah, it'd be cool to be the first one, but, like, that's a darn lot of money to be the first one to get a product that's only going to get better if I would wait a couple months.
Early adopter tax, it's still there with the truck.
Exactly.
I mean, you won't have to worry about paint job.
I think it's going to be worse than the paint job. Like, I notice panel gaps much more than I would nick in the paint. In the paint. I'm in the paint. Look at
there you go.
Jokes. Fun.
I mean, I did a video about things they're going to have to change with the production model. At this point, it is still illegal for them to
thumbnail,
ship.
By the way.
Thank you. I got a bunch. I put so little thought into it, and all these comments of people were saying, like, "Man, I really like that edit you did on the." I was like, "Really?"
You got, like, the ugliest, roundest looking side view mirrors, and, like,
I literally just went on over and searched side view mirror, and there was a PNG of one, and I was like, "There we go." Click add. Because I looked around. I was like, fan-made concept of what Cybertruck side view mirrors would look like. And there was nothing. Literally, like, no one's made one. And I was like, why not?
They have to be like little pyramids coming off the corner if they have to.
Yeah, very triangular. So I tried to make something that didn't fit, so it
Yeah.
looked out of place. But when I did that, more and more people just thought it was a different truck. I put those mirrors on there, and they were like, "Is that the Cyber? Oh, that is the Cybertruck. It's got this." It just looked more normal, so people
Wow.
couldn't tell what they were looking at. But currently, it doesn't seem like the law is changing. They're still going to have to deliver them with side view mirrors, and they're still going to have to deliver them with some type of windshield wiper. There's patents
I think
for stuff, but
Elon
the law
should
hasn't
just get
changed.
his lasers out and just laser blast every single raindrop on the windshield.
I don't think that can work. I had a few ideas though, because obviously the whole iconic look of that truck is how singular and straight the front of it is between the frunk and the windshield. It's just all one seamless motion, and adding a windshield wiper sticking out on that windshield would just not fit in very well.
Yeah.
So my thought process was maybe having the top end of the frunk motorized open a little bit, and that's what allows the windshield wipers to come out, and then it kind of gets buried in them on those sunny days. I don't know how that could necessarily work with frunk storage, because you want the front of that to open up as well. But I don't know. I feel like with the Roadster and with the Model 3 and Model Y and everything, there's this little groove between the hood and the windshield that the windshield wipers all sit in, and the Cybertruck obviously doesn't have that. And I can't imagine a concept where they add a groove where the windshield goes under the hood.
Yeah. No,
So I feel like
see
maybe
that
a
either.
motorized contraption could work. I know there's so many people on Reddit that are like, they're going to have a high-powered air blaster on the front, or they're going to have, Tesla has this laser patent for winch. That's all great that they have R&D. The law hasn't changed, though.
Yeah.
You legally have to have one, and the U.S. has not shown they're moving very quickly on these laws that the Cybertruck needs to change. So
There are bigger things we're worried about right now.
I guess there are. But,
like, are we going to be alive next month?
Yeah, I guess I'm just seeing it as I'm looking at it more as like, okay, we need to get ready for the Cybertruck to come out like now. Like we got to start figuring out these assembly lines and these production. And if they're bringing assembly lines in production, they got to finalize this design. And there's a bunch of stuff that still hasn't been finalized. That's why I think it's interesting. How do you think they're going to handle it?
I like your mechanical idea. I've kind of always thought that they're going to have, on a bus, the windshield wipers stay vertical, but when they are wiping, they go like...
Yeah. So something at the top?
No, not on the top, on the sides, on the A-pillars.
Oh,
and kind of disguise it as part of the vertical lines, because having a horizontal line would kind of mess it up. But if it's vertical and in... it doesn't have to be recessed or anything, but if it's just like right on the edge, like right where your eye just kind of already knows there's going to be like a line there, and if there's just more lines, I think it would hide it a little bit better, and then they'd come down and do that kind of wiping motion. That's how I thought they were going to do it, but I like your in the frunk idea, because I think that's a little more seamless, and then I wouldn't have to look at ugly windshield wipers.
And if it was sunny, it would be invisible.
Exactly.
You wouldn't see it at all,
It would look
which
like
I like.
the way it's supposed to. What do you think
In
about the side
California, it
view
would look
mirrors?
like that. So we still have the point that, yes, the user can remove them, but we still have to deliver them.
They should just get some
I
duct
personally... True. Maybe some duct tape.
tape. There you go.
I don't know. Maybe something magnetic. I don't know if it's that simple, but...
Well, it's already
feel
stainless
like
steel, right? Just
it
like
is,
your
but it's not the
refrigerator.
magnetic. It's not the magnetic
Oh, it
type
isn't?
of stainless steel. It won't do that. But I still feel like from so many people buying this thing that are used to driving big trucks, you're kind of used to having a mirror there as a backup, even though they have cameras. And I know you've got the rear view mirror that's a display now, and you've got the autopilot cameras that show up your blind spots. Maybe I need a Tesla to experiment with that for a while and just see what it's like to pretend the mirrors aren't there. If I had one, this is a video I would do. I don't think it would be illegal for me to cover up my mirrors, would it?
No, you can take off the mirrors if you want.
Yeah, it's legal to take them off. So maybe I'd make that as a video and just be like, okay, I'm going to leave the backward cameras up on the display just to see, like, can I drive like that comfortably and just not having mirrors. Personally, I don't think I could. I think it would be a little uncomfortable, and I think that for those who want it, they should develop something that can stay on there more permanently. more so than just duct tape. You know, I'm in favor of, if you want to remove it, go ahead. I don't care. But I still think that maybe it's just because of how I was raised to drive, but typically it's when you're making a lane change or checking to see if something is clear, you go mirror and then over the shoulder.
Yep.
And those things are pretty close together. I can mirror and then one turn, look over the shoulder, and then move.
Yep.
And if there's not even going to be a display on my left and everything's on the right, you know, there's rear view displays on the right and the center console is on the right. Plus, you know, that's also where GPS is. You know, they can't, I don't know if they're going to have always on cameras.
No, they wouldn't.
That
when you turn on your
display.
turn indicator, the camera will pop up. That's my idea.
Right. But I often will look before I signal because I want to see if it's clear.
You're not doing it right then. There's a 4-step process to changing lanes, Drew. Signal.
I don't like signal and
mirror,
then check if there's,
over the shoulder, go when safe.
If it's, you know, everyone's going 85 miles an hour and bumper to bumper, then I'm not going to signal and wait for them to move. I'm like, is it safe? Okay, now I'll signal to let those people know, and then once they know, that's when I move. But yeah, I think it needs to have mirrors. I'm not in the boat that says
I would rip them off just from design
we can do it all on the
perspective,
display.
seeing how I'm the kind of person to put design over basically anything, and the aesthetics of something over basically anything.
I like the look. Yeah, I like the look of it without
So
mirrors.
I would put up with having, and honestly, if the review mirror, a lot of times, well, I put a third-party review mirror on my car, and it's like 2 feet long. It's like a big bus mirror.
Oh, wow.
And like I have 0 blind spots in my mirror, so a lot of times I'm not even looking at my side mirrors because I can see like the same spot like twice between like my periphery and in the mirror up there. And so a lot of times the way I do it is when I'm going to make a lane change, I'll check my rearview mirror, and then I'll look in my side view mirror, and then I'll look over my shoulder, and then I'll go. But with the Cybertruck, there's already going to be that mirror up there. So what I would, if I didn't change my system,
screen mirror.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'd be looking up the screen mirror, and then I'd just look down for the side mirror, and then I'd look over the shoulder. So it's the same amount of head motion, but instead of up, over, back, it would be up, down, and then back. So, and if you're not listening to this on a video podcast, you're going to be very confused.
Yeah. We need to ask Jay Leno. I wish he would have brought that up.
I know, Jay.
He drove.
Yeah.
He's like one of the only other people that have
he
driven
had his
one.
eyes closed the entire time, though.
Yeah, he couldn't see anything.
He was just trusting autopilot.
Yeah. Yeah. I still feel like something needs to be there, but I need to try it. Maybe if I drove one around, I could be like, oh, okay. Because of how the cameras are oriented and the visibility, it can be done comfortably. But personally, if I had to guess, I don't think the law is going to change. No. I don't think the law is going to change when it comes out that, oh, yeah, you can just go with the cameras. That's fine. That doesn't sound like the current federal mandates for vehicles. They're going to be like, what if the camera goes out? What if the camera's not working? You need a mirror to be there. You know, just
what if the sun's shining in the camera? Well, then you look over your shoulder the old-fashioned way.
It'll definitely be a learning curve. It'll be the only curve of the Cybertruck because you'll have to figure out.
It's actually a learning angle, Drew. It's a learning angle.
It was already a little weird when I test drove the Model Y because I was used to having my Sonata's side view mirrors, and the Y has pretty small mirrors.
Yeah, I think they're the same mirrors from the 3. I was like,
oh. It's kind of crammed. It's kind of a small mirror, and trying to see back there is like, ugh. I can't really see it that well. So if there's nothing there and I'm driving and I'm used to looking like, oh, that's right, nothing. I got to remember.
Well,
Same with
remember how fast you got used to the speedometer, though? Like, everyone's worried about where their eyes are trained to go. And, like, it doesn't take a lot of effort to train your eyes from center for speed to a little bit left or right to speed.
No, but I think that's a smaller change. I think that's pretty minor.
I think they're on the same par.
You're going from here to here to here to here.
And you're going from here to here to here to here.
Okay. You have a point. I
do have a point.
That one.
It's an Apple Pencil point.
It's a one look difference. The difference is, though, I don't think the visual would always be there.
The visual.
Basically, in order to
you can't just glance.
In order to see my blind spot, I have to signal. Whereas the speedometer is always there with a Tesla or a non-Tesla. The speed is always presented. Unless, of course, the display crashes, which has happened for people.
Never.
The screen turns off, and you're just like, now what?
Well, at the same
I always
time,
thought
though,
that was
you
weird.
can drive with no mirrors. Like, it's
It
not.
can be done.
It's not impossible. Like,
I noticed most people don't, though.
you shouldn't. You shouldn't. I mean,
Yeah.
the idea is, yes, it's safer to have the mirrors, but at the same time, what the mirror does is just makes your blind spot that much more visible. And so without a mirror, all you have to do is just a little bit more effort to like double. Like, you should be looking at your mirror and your blind spot, you know. But theoretically, you can also just look at your blind spot and get about the same amount of visual cues. Mm-hmm. Now, at the same time, yes, mirrors are good because it allows you to glance pretty easily because you don't have to take your eyes off the front of the road, which is more important. But with a Tesla, maybe you don't need to be looking forward all of the time because, you know, it's got you. It has a radar two radars looking ahead, a couple cameras. It'll notice any significant problems with a nice beep. So you feel a little bit more comfortable looking all the way over and spending, you know, a second or 2 seconds instead of just a quick glance.
There has been a few exceptions, sadly, we've found.
True. Don't trust autopilot the entire time, guys.
No.
Yet.
If your Tesla crashed on autopilot, you weren't using it right. We're still in that phase of autonomy. Where it's like, okay, I'm driving, but look at the road, hand on the wheel, and all that. Do you think that they left it off the prototype for the sake of aesthetics, or was it for the sake of we're going to have full self-driving by then anyway?
I think it was a little bit of both, actually. I think it definitely looks better without the mirror.
Yeah,
like the Cybertruck.
I can't find a concept I like that looks good
exactly
with the mirror.
But at the same time, I think there's a lot of optimism in 2019. Way back when in 2019, everyone was optimistic.
There's been a little too much full self-driving optimism, I think, over the years.
Exactly. And just the way laws would change, though. Like, I think in 2019, even I was optimistic in 2019. Oh, we got till the end of 2021. We'll have like 2 whole years to change the laws.
We'll have jetpacks by then.
Exactly. I'll have $80,000 in a jetpack.
Now people are like, end of next year? And then it's like, oh.
Are we going to be around that long? I don't know.
Yeah, I think we'll all be dead by then.
Yeah, I think so.
It might not matter. Yeah. I think... I'm curious to see. I think Cybertruck has the potential to be the biggest change between prototype to production model Tesla has ever had. Looking back on their unveilings versus their production models, they're usually pretty dang similar. It'll still be fundamentally the same. The biggest differences, like I said, will be mirrors, wipers, and steering wheel. Those are the biggest ones.
Okay, I will be one of the 6 people to go out there and find the stupid third-party wheel, mess around with my airbag at my own risk to stick the wheel that looks the same. Like, that is...
It's a cool-looking wheel,
so
but it's
futuristic.
Not legal.
It's not legal for them to ship, but
legal.
it's just like a racing wheel. Like, you can have a track wheel on a streetcar.
I've seen people put racing wheels on their Model 3s.
Exactly.
Techforum is who I'm thinking of.
And I'm thinking of Derek. He put a racing wheel on his Model 3. And
I'm just imagining. Okay, we get it. You want the more racing style Cybertruck steering wheel, but what will the default one look like?
Probably a triangle.
Like the
Probably a triangle. It's going to be an equilateral triangle. And that'll actually be perfect because at 10 and 2, your hands will be at about that right angle.
You'll hold on to it like this.
And you kind of go like this.
Wheel. Oh my God, you got me thinking. Now that might be actually easier.
Oh no.
Because you've got little pivot points that you can pull on.
You can grab your hand and flip it over. No.
It would blend
I'd like
in
to
with
see
the
all you concept designers out there. Go
please, we need more Cybertruck concepts that are talking about like, okay, the wheel has to change. Let's show that. The mirrors have to look like
cyber even mirrors. Use it as a thumbnail in a future video.
Sure. Can someone develop cyber mirror concepts? I want to see these little triangular mirrors on the side. But
tweet them at me. I'll make sure to respond next month.
I saw a lot of people say that it'll be like an octagon. Like a stop sign shaped steering wheel. So it's still sharp and edgy, but it's got kind of like the actual wheels of the truck. Or what was another one people had? Oh, one idea that popped into my head, it wasn't an idea from someone else, was the Tesla Semi steering wheel. Have you seen that one?
I know I've seen it in person. I don't recall what it looks like, though.
Look up the Tesla Semi steering wheel. It's a bit more industrial, hardcore looking than the Model 3 and Y steering wheel.
Oh, I like that.
See what I mean?
Flat on the bottom. I like
Yeah,
it.
it's kind of more...
It still wouldn't look good in the Cybertruck. It's
not
still,
exactly, but it would look a little better than the 3 or Y, I would say. It's got some straightness to it. It's got some sharper edges compared to the 3 or Y.
Yeah, but the Roadster still has the best looking steering wheel out of all of them.
That's true.
Single piece of brushed
I was just
stainless
looking at
steel.
that
Look
one.
at that.
Also not legal.
Who cares?
It's going to be so hard to figure out what type of steering wheel they're going to put on the Roadster by default.
I need it.
Can you imagine a Model 3 or Y wheel on the Roadster when you get it? That would feel so wrong.
That would feel so wrong.
You get in that interior and you're like, what is this?
Also,
What
why
am I
is the
driving
screen
right
going
now?
the wrong way?
Yeah. Also, I'm still trying to decide if Tesla will let you legally go 0 to 60 in 1.9 seconds on city streets. I'm trying to figure that out. Like, I can't. It doesn't sound right. That they would be like, yeah.
I don't think any current supercar, like the Chiron or like some fancy Lambo, I don't think they GPS limit you. But they do have separate keys where you have to have your track key in as well to unlock the full horsepower.
And Tesla doesn't do keys,
So I would imagine they probably would. I don't want them to though, because it would be so much fun to pull up in your Tesla
at a stoplight.
At a stoplight, and some guy in like a Mustang or something who's like, "Oh, electric car, I have the engine," and you just be like, track mode, leopard stance or whatever, green.
Yeah, right. Cheetah mode, yeah. And you just take off. The worry would not be so much about the acceleration as it would be the slowing down. How fast can the Roadster stop after it's reached 0 to 100 in under 4 seconds? How quickly can it stop accelerating?
Theoretically, you should always be able to accelerate and decelerate at the same rate in full brake and full speed versions, right?
That could be potentially very dangerous if you just slam the brakes and start
then you have the ABS. Like, you're never going to hit that full traction, but from a physics perspective, like, the traction you can impart onto the road is the same traction that you can reduce from the road with the brakes. But you spin and like the ABS turns on and stuff. So it's not actually 1.9 seconds 60 to 0, but it would be like 2.9 seconds or something, pretty close. But with the SpaceX package, I think that's what they're going to GPS limit. They'll let you go 0 to 60 in 1.9 seconds on the road, but if you want to use the SpaceX package for that 0.9 seconds or 1 second or whatever it is, you have to be on a track, because that would either require another SpaceX thruster in the front to slow you down at quick enough speeds. Obviously, you can slow down with the brakes given enough time and space, but on the roads, you don't have that kind of time.
So is it like a certain distance from a public street they would have to register your
think
GPS?
I think they will go in and approve certain areas and tracks, like
that could take
racing
a while.
tracks, like any NHRA racing track on, the weekends. There's always, you can even go and pay and run by yourself or whatever, but you can go to these specific places, any racing track, and race your car, whether that's on like a figure 8 ring or a straight line like a dragster, which is what the Roadster would excel at. Oh my gosh, 1.9 seconds. That would beat like a lot of pro stock.
Model.
That would beat a lot of pro stock cars in an NHRA, like a full
Easily.
It wouldn't beat anything top fuel, but maybe even an alcohol dragster. I don't know what the 0 to 60 is on an alcohol dragster. I know they make it about 5 seconds. So
I just imagine people being so mad
close
if there is GPS locked because they want to take off anywhere.
Well,
but
that's why I say they'll lock the SpaceX package, but like the rest of it, you're
Tesla
buying a
has data-
$300,000 car after taxes. Like,
yeah,
you should be able to go fast whenever you want.
you're gonna have to check a few disclosure agreements.
Oh, I'm sure.
But like, Tesla's GPS and Google Maps and all maps have the data on where stop sign and stoplights are. Maybe they'll want you to be a certain distance away from that. They'll be like, you're too close to a stoplight, the next stoplight. But if you're on like the freeway in the middle of, Nevada, and there's not a stoplight for tens of miles, then they'd be like, okay, yeah, you can use the SpaceX package if you're out in the middle of nowhere. I don't know. I'm curious to see how they handle that. It'll be fascinating, but I love the design. I love the range. I'd love to see someone hypermile a Roadster. I don't know.
Like Marquez is like, I can't wait. He's like 6'2" or something, and I'm like, you're not gonna fit in that.
I think it all comes down to how much leg room there is, because
with the steering wheel being flat like that, you have a lot more getting your knees in and out.
Yeah, so you might fit. I think you could fit, Nick. It may not be super comfortable, but I mean, like most Roadsters, it's getting into them is like laying on the ground basically because of how low they are.
Yeah.
Similar to you getting in the Model 3 is kind of like, it's basically asking you to lay down on the ground. It's like, okay, here we go. That's why a lot of people like the Ys, because it's easier to get into. But
so I'm really worried about the Cybertruck.
Do tell. What now are you worried about now?
I'm really worried about the steering wheel, Drew. The steering wheel might not be the futuristic thing. No, I think
won't be. It can't be so far. They can't do that, but I want the Cybertruck to come out ahead of schedule, or on time at least. And they just got approved by the school board for the tax cut in Austin.
Board? Oh,
yeah, because when you avoid paying property taxes, the property taxes pay for public education. So it's the school board that has to approve tax cuts like that. The more you know. I learned that recently because I got some county taxes in the mail, and they were like, "What is this for?" And they were like, "Oh, this high school district and this district, and it goes to schools." So the school board approved it, and now it's been passed on to the Travis County Council or whatever for approval. But they are still meeting with Tulsa, so we don't have any updates on that. They'll probably be posted right after we record this. So sorry if we're late.
Yeah, Elon's gonna. That's what those hackers should have done on Twitter. Have Elon tweet out Giga some random city we've never heard of. Giga Ottawa, Giga Canada.
Imagine if they hacked Elon's account to say Giga Tulsa and it wasn't actually Elon. Oh my God. Tulsa would have been so excited. They would have been partying and popping champagne bottles like, whoa, we won!
And then Elon couldn't have tweeted after that because they shut down his Twitter, for a few hours.
Yeah. He couldn't even have clarified later. By the way, guys, that's not what we're doing. Never mind. Sorry. Psych. Got him.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
I want it to happen fast. Giga Berlin's moving fast.
So I've seen...
Elon, I guess you didn't get to see this, Nick, but Elon tweeted out a finalized picture of what Giga Berlin will look like. That looked really cool. So I'll send you a picture.
Yeah, please do.
But basically, it looks amazing, and I love how little Tesla semis are around the whole thing being used. I doubt that'll happen, but I like the idea. Because Tesla semi...
Is it like an aerial picture or something?
Yeah. I'll show you. It looks too good to be real.
That's beautiful. Oh, I want to work there. Oh, it even has like a little park on the roof. That's cool.
Yeah. It's got like a green roof to it and
with
everything.
Like a pool on the top. Oh my God.
Yeah. They've started putting up some of the first cement walls at the Giga Berlin site currently. So the pillars are going up and the walls are going up, and
I love how all the cars on the freeway are Teslas.
Oh, they are.
They're all Model 3s or semis.
Whenever there's renderings, Teslas are... Oh, you're right. That's funny. Yeah, it's cool to see the facility actually go from being, for months and months and months, all of the update videos were just like dirt and trees and dirt and trees. And now it's actually starting to look like a building with like cement and everything going on.
He has like buildings in the background there. I wonder what those exterior non-unified buildings are.
Yeah, that's probably some of the battery production. That's what Giga Shanghai has. They have this kind of, I forget what you call it. It's like a rectangle with the corner cut off design, where it says Tesla on the front. It's like a cut off of the corner. That's
I don't know what that shape's called. You're the shape master. You know all your shapes.
The it's technically like a really weird trapezoid, lopsided, but it's like that. But that's how they're building Giga Nevada. That's how they're building Giga Shanghai. And those little off-center side buildings are typically doing battery or powertrain production of some kind. So that's probably what that is. So they're building batteries there too.
Wow.
But yeah, it's cool to see them move so fast on it. I'm still betting on May. I think they'll be pumping out Model Ys in May, which is so fast.
They got a lot of solar panels on the roof there. I think they should.
They
talk
said
to
there would be a
someone
lot
about
more
getting good solar prices.
Yeah, they said there'd be a lot more solar on Giga Nevada than there ended up being. If you look at it now, it does not look like
they don't need that much solar. That's the funny thing. Like,
I think they're still pulling from the grid. Aren't
they are. Okay.
I don't know.
Like solar panels are like so efficient that like, you know, okay, you need a lot of space for solar panels, but like I would guarantee that number of solar panels on that roof would power the entire factory, you know, with enough power wall stuff to, you know, but like that's not even half of the Giga Nevada is covered right there in solar panels.
A very, very small piece of Giga Nevada has solar on it, whereas the renderings made it look like basically the entire roof was going to be solar. But
if you look at Apple's campus, the infinite loop ring,
that's what I was going to say.
Like there's only like a little strip of solar panels around the top, and it's big. It's like 60 feet by like however big the circumference is. But like you look at this huge building that's 100% solar powered. Yeah, and it's just like little ring.
I guess most of it's like lighting and the robotics and the charging of batteries. I would imagine uses the most.
Charging power, true. Yeah, because they got to charge.
They're building all these batteries. Every car that goes out has got to have a near full charge. So I wonder what they charge them to in the factory. Do they go to 100? I don't know. That would be a weird fun fact.
I know they do one cycle before they bring them out of the battery.
Oh, they test. Yeah, they drive them around first.
Well, not driving, but the battery pack itself. They cycle the battery.
They drain
it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you're never getting actually a clean, fresh battery, but oh well.
It's close.
You can never get the true pure. Anyway, thank you all for watching/listening, ladies and gentlemen. We'll chat with you next week. Except it might not be Nick.
It might not be.
Bye. Bye, everyone.